1976. Well, he started in 1976. We joined him in 2002 and have just grown it wonderfully with some wonderful team, and really excited to be back here in Spanish Fork, where my dad was born and raised and went to school here. And so it's kind of fun emotionally to come and be in this community. Just an exciting place to be for us.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I'll tell you, for those of us at the very north end of the valley that don't get down here all this often, there's no reason to go fight the traffic in Salt Lake.
Oh, no.
You've got everything
That's
here.
right.
And the mayor was just here. I know he's thrilled to have Bedrock Quartz in the neighborhood.
Yep, we were excited to be part of it. It's a great community. We love this location, to be close to our customers in this area. And we've got some wonderful displays here that, over 100 colors on display that people can really find something that'll be beautiful for their homes.
It is beautiful, and your backsplashes, and so many people now are not, they're not moving, they're remodeling so they can love the house they stay in.
That's right. Really beautify it and enjoy that place. So it feels so wonderful to have a kitchen and a bathroom that families enjoy together.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing it with us today. We're going to talk a lot more. Today, by the way, they're giving away $5,000 in Bedrock products and services for one lucky homeowner out there, so take advantage of it.
Come and see us at Bedrock Quartz, 49 East 10th North in Spanish Fork, right next to Siegel Book.
When words come out of our mouths and everything sounds fine, no one bats an eye. But if things come out a little jumbled or letters sound different than most, there's speech therapy. But did you know that speech therapy is used for more than just stuttering or dysfluency? From articulation to expressive and receptive language to a simple act of swallowing that most of us take for granted, speech therapy can do amazing things for you, your health, and of course your sense of self. That's why Summit Speech Therapy is here. Summit Speech Therapy works with people of all ages, from infants and toddlers who have a difficult time feeding or eating, TBI, stroke, or coma patients, to children and adults with speech problems. So much of it is all related, and Summit Speech Therapy can help. Summit works with all insurance companies as well as private pay options, and the experience can be life-changing. With clinics up and down the Wasatch Front, including Murray, with no long waiting for an appointment. For more, visit summitslp.com. That's summitslp.com.
Happy 62nd birthday, Granddad.
Thanks, sweetheart.
I got you this.
A mug. Oh, thank you. What does it say? Beware. If you are 60 or older, you may be at increased risk of hospitalization from RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, compared to adults younger than 60.
Not all dangers come with warning labels. Talk to your pharmacist or doctor about getting vaccinated against RSV today. Learn more at bewareofrsv.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. Here's Ricky Meese.
We still have crews on the scene of this crash in Ogden, northbound I-15 near 12th Street on the right, and some heavy and slow traffic southbound I-15 in Murray between 4500 South and the South Interchange. When it comes to trusted, affordable auto care, nobody does it better than Burt Brothers Tire and Service. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we could see a pop-up thunderstorm this afternoon on the Wasatch Front. Tomorrow, going into the weekend, it'll dry out and warm up. Today's high 92, 93 tomorrow. It's 88 degrees, partly cloudy right now at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, your all-day companion for news.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
We are less than a month away from the primary election and Utah's special election to replace Congressman Chris Stewart. Becky Edwards is one of the three Republicans hoping to become the next representative for Congressional District Number 2, and she joins us live in studio today. Becky, welcome to the show.
Great to be with you. Thanks, Boyd.
So give us the update. This has to be one of the most unique political runs ever for everybody. It is a sprint. It is a mad dash. What are you experiencing? What are you seeing out on the trail?
I'll tell you, I think it's a series of sprints for us, getting on the ballot, getting around the district, 13 counties, a district that's bigger than 13 states. Actually, it's a formidable task, but it is such a joy and a privilege to be out there meeting with voters across the district. And for us, I think our secret sauce is our volunteers. We have a movement of people who have found our campaign partly coming off the Senate race and then actually partly just following my service in the Utah House for 10 years. And those are people that are helping us gather signatures, put lawn signs up. I mean, boots on the ground stuff that you just appreciate so much with such a shortened time frame and such a large district.
Yeah, such a big it's such a big heavy lift to see it done in triple time is it a crazy thing to watch from a campaign standpoint. But as you're out there sprinting up and down I-15 and to all the other points across the district, what is it that you're hearing from constituents and from potential voters?
You know, a lot of the things I'm hearing are the same kinds of messages I heard when I was serving in the House. And their families really concerned about what the future looks like for their kids, grandkids, and the struggles that folks are facing. A lot of it's around financial concerns and the expense of things are just expensive. The basic things, food, gas, we're back to school next week, and those are adding on for folks. And I think it really brings to a fine point why I'm in this race. Some of the things I'm focusing on are tackling those issues in Congress. And really, you know, we use words fiscal responsibility, but when I say those words, I really am thinking about parents and individuals across this district grappling with the costs of everyday expenses and how we need to do better by them.
Yeah, I think the inflation components and all of things are just trying to make that paycheck, make it all the way to the end of the month, not running out of paycheck before you get there. I think is such a challenge for so many here in especially in the 2nd Congressional District. So as you look at going back to Washington, describe what that looks like as you look at some of those fiscal issues, some of the other big challenges in our nation's capital. What does a Becky Edwards representation look like for the 2nd District?
It looks a lot like my representation in the Utah House. Collaborative, bringing common sense to a focus on solving problems. And it's what I did when I chaired the Economic Development and Workforce Services Committee for 6 years. It's what I did to really tackle some of the biggest issues our state was facing, and bringing people together, being highly aware of the work that actually needs to be done in committee, and making those hard decisions, especially around budget. For far too long, both parties have kind of not let out as well as the American people deserve. And my track record of balancing the Utah state budget 10 years in a row, which is not easy, takes it's a lot of work, and I think that's why Congress doesn't do it. And that's what I bring back, is a track record of effective leadership on some really hard issues.
Yeah, we often talk about the hard work and heavy lifting that doesn't happen on social media or in front of television cameras or microphones, being the really important work that gets done back there. And obviously we're in this really interesting era where there is a lot of the polarization, particularly around social issues. How do you navigate that as a representative?
I think you start with a foundation of respect and really validating everyone's perspectives. And then kind of through conversations and really understanding the why behind it, you see that there's a lot more commonality, I think, to what I refer to as Utah values, which are more than what we see in sound bites and finger pointing on some of these issues. They're people basically being concerned about our way of life, what this state, this country looks like for their children and grandchildren, and for all of us, really. And that's something that takes a lot of respect, civility, and an ability to bring people together to reason, really, with each other for solutions.
Yeah. Now, I've asked every candidate for every office I've ever interviewed the same question, from someone running for president to someone running for county council. And the question is always, elections are hard. You know they're hard. They're painful, they're exhausting, they're exasperating. So what would make it all worth it? Everybody runs to win, but what would make all of this effort worth it, even if you came up short?
I'll tell you, elections are everything you said, and I will add, they're also invigorating. They are full of joy and inspiration and aspiration for better days, and that knowledge and hope that people have across this district. That's what makes it worth it. That's what really drives our campaign. It's what has always driven my public service, and a commitment to try and remember those folks and work on their behalf, and having that grit and experience to get things done.
Yeah. I'm going to sneak in one last question with you, Becky, before I let you go. What is the thing that has surprised you the most in this, again, very unique run-up to a special election? What surprised you in this process? Either something you've heard from somebody, something you've seen as you've gone around the state. What surprised you and caused you to learn something in this process?
I think it's the hope that people have and their faith in each other as neighbors. Individuals' ability to cut through some of the vitriol that we see on the extremes and coming together, having the confidence that they believe in their neighbors, they believe in their individual school teachers, they believe in each other in a way that gives them hope and a desire and an alignment with our vision and me as a leader. That's, I think, the thing that has really brought me a lot of confidence as we head into the primary election on September 5th. And we're sitting here, ballots are going to drop in 4 days.
4 days.
They'll be in people's mailboxes. The first day of school, come home, drop your kids off to school, come home, take that ballot out, and vote.
Cast your vote. Awesome. Becky Edwards, candidate in the GOP primary to replace Congressman Chris Stewart in the 2nd Congressional District. It is coming very fast. Again, watch for those ballots in your mailbox. They'll be in the next few days here, and then coming up on September the 5th. And Becky, I'm sure we'll talk to you between now and the end of this first part of the race. And we appreciate you stopping in for Inside Sources today. Thanks for jumping on.
Thank you.
All right, we'll step aside for a quick commercial break. More Inside Sources coming up next on KSL News Radio.
As summer winds down, the storylines are ramping up.
Gasoline inventories are now at the lowest level since 2015.
Utah is now a member of the Big 12 Conference.
Warmer temperatures will continue through the month of August.
Keep up with these and the stories still to come. Listen to Tim and Amanda in the morning from 5 to 9, David Dejanovic at 9, and Boyd Matheson at 1. And on your drive home, get breaking updates and Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News from 3 to 7. The news won't slow down, and neither will our coverage on KSL News Radio.
Tim and Amanda back live at the brand new location of Bedrock Quartz. We're in Spanish Fork at 49 East, 1000 North. How fun is this?
Oh, this is a beautiful showroom. Alan Jorgensen is with us. Your family owns Bedrock Quartz. And I know a lot of people are thinking right now, I don't want to move, but I hate my bathroom or I hate my kitchen. Why not? If they knew that they could do it and have it be relatively painless, why wouldn't they do it now?
That's right. We can turn it around in such a quick time, like typically 7 days from template to install. And the beauty of what you can bring into these places with changing out the countertops, the sinks, and the faucets, just doing that can be such a remarkable change in how the space feels and the gathering place that it creates for you and your family.
Yeah.
And you look at value for your dollar spent. I think kitchens are probably, and bathrooms are probably the biggest return, aren't they?
They are, for sure. We spend so much time in those spaces. The kitchen's a gathering place, and the beauty that it creates like a warmth, and it's something that people are looking for. So whether you're living in your home or whether you're selling, people come in. That's one of the first places that we're looking at. And so if you're going to be staying there, enjoy it. Enjoy the place and make it beautiful.
Oh, a bathroom can sell a house for sure. A nice, beautiful backsplash. Your backsplashes. I have never seen such beautiful backsplashes in my life.
Well, thank you. They have such beautiful options that can create some amazing artwork on the walls of your kitchen.
Oh.
Yep.
There are over 1,000 five-star reviews, and you will be raving next about Bedrock Quartz. Come see us. We're here till 4 this afternoon in Spanish Fork at 49 East, 1000 North. We are right next to Seagull Book.
Prices are slashed.
This means hot deals at Dave's Bernina.
At their St. George and Provo locations.
I mean, offers so good we can't tell you the prices, and they won't last long.
Up to 48 months, no interest on certain models.
Come in now for this 3-day event. See the world premiere of the all-new Bernina 790 Pro machine with features you've never seen before, such as a computerized quilting option. Order one now and get a free accessory package worth over $2,400.
Purchase a new Bernina L890
or LH60
and receive all these free gifts,
such as a thread collection and sewing accessories,
serger suitcase, and the Big Book of Serging. Amazing bargains on previously owned machines while they last that come with warranties.
Starting at $399. So many other hot deals and offers. Come in and take advantage of this sale.
Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same, but at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high commission investment products, right?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
Troy, do you believe in fortune tellers?
Not really. Why?
Camping's been so epic this year, I need to know if we'll get extra summer.
Is that the deal with the black message pool ball?
All signs point to yes.
Well, summer's always longer when you've got an RV.
Is that true? The ball says yes.
People in RVs can camp all through fall, and we want everyone to experience that. So right now, Bish's RV is throwing a summer forever sale. Get low monthly payments starting under $149 per month on approved credit.
Okay, that's crazy low, no?
Ball says decidedly so.
We're also hooking people up with 90 days of all play, no pay OAC?
Definitely. Plus, all remaining new 2022s are priced to move with no single reasonable offer refused.
And trades are worth like more than ever, right?
No doubt in sight.
This thing is never wrong. Paranormal pool ball, am I handsome? Better not tell you. Wait.
Extend your season for summer memories during the Summer Forever sale at Bish's RV in North Salt Lake and American Fork. Previously Stewart's RV. Bish's RV, where memories begin.
Based on 10% down, 9.24% APR for 180 months. Not all buyers will qualify. See dealer for details.
It's August, and that means it's back to school.
KSL News Radio has teamed up with FinWise Bank to collect supplies for all 5 Salt Lake school districts, but we need your help.
FinWise Bank, moving people forward and supporting Utah's schools for over 20 years.
Drop off new school supplies to the FinWise Bank corporate office at 756 Winchester Street. They'll be open for donations weekdays from 9 to 4.
Help Utah kids get off on the right foot. Find out more at kslnewsradio.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the husband of a woman from Utah who went missing in Alaska has now been arrested. He's being held on a murder charge. Second, charges against President Biden's son Hunter could be filed in states other than Delaware now that the U.S. attorney investigating his case has been named special counsel. And third, riding the front-runner trains from Salt Lake to Ogden, got a lot more fun with a karaoke car. Right now, 88 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources, an inside look at 2024 presidential politics.
Well, it's once again time for the weekly segment of our show where we take a little deeper dive into the 2024 presidential politics. As we always say, trying to understand the behavior of someone running for president is like trying to smell the color 7. And this is a good week to try to smell the color 7 because candidates are flocking to the Hawkeye State. Everybody's going to the Iowa State Fair. If that was not on your agenda, there's a whole lot of folks that are there this week, particularly on the GOP side, as they all flock there for that opportunity to look at the butter cow, have some fried food, something on a stick, and a lot of politics is the big tradition at the Iowa State Fair, where those caucus goers will be the first to cast their vote as we get into January and have a big impact in terms of who the nominee will be on the Republican side in particular. And so as everyone descends, we wanted to take a look at what are those candidates doing in Iowa? How are they doing? What's the message? And what does it mean in terms of the overall race? Not all candidates have had their chance to speak yet, but they all get to have a chance there in Iowa to chat with the governor. They call it a fair side chat at the state fair, and including one from the Democratic side of the aisle. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Made an announcement that, like Ron DeSantis, that he was going to release an economic plan that he would pursue during his presidency. Here's a clip from that announcement.
Both President Trump and President Biden like to boast about the prosperity that they brought to our country, but in crisscrossing America myself, I'm not seeing evidence of that prosperity. Instead, I'm seeing an America that I never thought that I'd witness. I'm seeing these giant disparities in wealth where most Americans are living on the precipice of desperation. And both President Trump and President Biden are now running for re-election based upon these economic choices. And what that means is that if either of them get elected, you can expect more of the same. I want every American to know that you are not alone in this crisis. I want you to know that I'm going to be a president who's going to be thinking about solving your economic problems every day that I'm in the White House. The government created these problems, and you deserve a government that is going to solve them.
That's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. making an announcement about an economic agenda. I thought it was interesting in that he went after both former President Trump and current President Joe Biden in terms of their economics and what that has actually meant to real citizens, real kitchen tables all around the country. So an interesting perspective there. And again, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will be at the Iowa State Fair as part of all of that. The president has been on his own campaign trail, of course. We call it the Rose Garden on the road, where you can talk about policy and sneak in some campaigning and some fundraising along the way. Of course, part of that took place right here in the state of Utah. And as the president went through the state, he had an important speech. I think the most important part of his venture this week was the PACT Act. During his speech, the president framed our nation's highest obligation towards those who make the choice to defend our country and serve in the U.S. military.
Folks, we have a moral obligation. This goes beyond the financial. We have a moral obligation to respond to this. And I'm here today to spread the word so every veteran or surviving family member knows how to access benefits of this law. Because these conditions have already taken such a toll on so many veterans and their families, I directed the Department of Veterans Affairs to treat all 23 presumptive conditions in this law as applicable immediately.
I think that was important from the president, and I will just state it again. The president is 100% right. We do have a moral obligation, more than a financial one, and I'll say it once again. When we send our brave women and men into harm's way, we need to give them a very clear mission to execute and accomplish all the resources they need to achieve that mission. And then when they come home, we keep our promises to them. And when they don't, we keep those promises to their family. And I thought that was the real highlight and an important moment for the president while he was here in the Beehive State this week. Back in Iowa, yesterday on MSNBC, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, who's a little under the radar. He's one of those candidates who isn't going to light it up with a lot of red meat rhetoric. He's not going to flash it all on TikTok and all of the social channels. But he is a serious candidate who understands what it means to govern. And he took on an interesting subject yesterday in terms of whether or not President Trump should actually attend the primary debate.
When you talk about the issues, though, I just want to make this point that I'm one of in the minority. I just assume Donald Trump not participate in the debate simply because we want to talk about the issues. And I think there's a lot of contrast between the Republican candidates as it stands, and it'd be nice to be able to have that serious policy discussions. But if he participates, he will be the focus, and I'll be out there speaking the truth about he's not the right leader for our country.
Yeah, so that's Asa Hutchinson. An important message there, I think, in terms of what will these debates look like? Will the former president participate? Many of the candidates have said, yes, we do want the former president on the stage. They want to go toe-to-toe with the president during the debate. Asa Hutchinson said, no, I actually want to talk about principles and policy, and it might be better if the former president wasn't on the stage, and we still don't know. He's been very much up in the air in terms of whether or not he will participate in that next debate, which will be on August the 23rd in Milwaukee. Former Vice President Mike Pence is in Iowa. He's working hard to deliver his message to the people there. He had a chance to chat with the Iowa governor, Kim Reynolds. These are part of these fair-side chats. When he was asked by the governor about national defense, here's what the former vice president had to say.
I couldn't be more proud to have been part of an administration that made the largest increased investment in our national defense since the days of Ronald Reagan. We rebuilt our military. We finally gave our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard the support they needed to defend this nation. Frankly, to see the way the Biden administration has been working to cut military spending since they first came into office is another reason why I stepped forward. We have an administration that literally is growing government, growing mandates, growing spending, but working to cut defense spending. That all changes the day that I become president of the United States, I promise you.
Governor of Iowa Kim Reynolds also asked Mike Pence about the state of the economy. He gave a short, very crisp summary of how he would address our nation's economic challenges.
I mean, the American people see what's happening out there. Inflation's up 16.6%. The war on energy by the Biden administration has caused gasoline prices to be up 60%. They just jumped up again. I mean, look, the inflation that's happening in America today, economists on the right and the left all know is because of runaway spending in Washington, D.C. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get spending under control. We're going to cancel unexpended, unnecessary spending in Washington, D.C. And I promise you, as your president, we're going to drive toward balancing a federal budget, and we're going to reform these old programs to save our nation from a mountain range of debt.
That's the former vice president in Iowa, and we'll watch all of those as we go through the weekend. All of the candidates are expected to show up in Iowa at some point over the course of today and tomorrow. We'll take a listen to what they have to say. And again, for the Republicans, coming up on an important debate stage on the 23rd in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Well, that wraps up hour number one. That wraps up our segment on presidential politics for 2024 as we take an inside look there, and we'll continue to monitor that. We'll step aside for some top-of-the-hour news. Much more to come in hour number two of Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. Stick around. We'll be right back.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen on the KSL News Radio app and in your car at 102.7 FM. KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Residents of the Alpine School District have protested an increase in their property taxes, but many are relieved it's less than they expected. KSL News Radio's Peter Johnston has that story.
Dozens of Alpine District residents made their case against higher taxes Tuesday as they were under the impression their property tax rate would go up by 19%. According to the Salt Lake Tribune, the real number was far below that at 7.8%. Residents still expressed anger at the raise, including one retiree who says she already has to pay for a $6,000 medication. Board members, on the other hand, say the district needs money to keep schools open.
Just a few months ago, 70% of Alpine District voters rejected a $600 million bond. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The massive wildfire on the west end of Maui is 80% contained now. People with proof of residency and visitors with proof of their hotel reservations are being allowed back into some areas. Stephanie Evans told ABC she and her sons evacuated their home in Lahaina when the smoke covered it up.
It's hard because Lahaina is so historic, and you can't rebuild, all those things. It's history, right?
At least 55 people are known dead. Search teams looking for additional victims with hundreds still unaccounted for. If you'd like to contribute to the Maui Strong Fire Relief Fund, there's a link at kslnewsradio.com. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average near the close of trading, up 135 points right now, while the NASDAQ has been down all day and right now sitting down 71 points on the day. And our KSL weather is coming up next. It looks like we could get a thunder shower this afternoon. KSL News Time, 2:02.
Early mornings can be hard enough, just getting yourself going.
We try to make it a little easier with news and weather from comfortable, trusted anchors and reporters.
Join us on Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9
on KSL News Radio.
I'm Scott Trout, attorney and CEO of the domestic litigation firm Cordell & Cordell. We help men deal with the life changes triggered by divorce, such as child custody and property division, among many others. But life changes also occur after divorce. These changes can make parts of your existing court order irrelevant. If you feel a modification to your court orders might be necessary, talk to us at Cordell & Cordell. We're a partner men can count on.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Salt Lake City area attorneys. 910 West Legacy Center Way, Suite 120, Midvale, Utah, 84047.
Gah, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 50 features.
Ooma?
Yep, switching to Ooma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Find small business calm at ooma.com/radio. That's OOMA.com/radio.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Happy 62nd birthday, Granddad.
Thanks, sweetheart.
I got you this.
A mug. Oh, thank you. What does it say? Beware. If you are 60 or older, you may be at increased risk of hospitalization from RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, compared to adults younger than 60.
Not all dangers come with warning labels. Talk to your pharmacist or doctor about getting vaccinated against RSV today. Learn more at bewareofrsv.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
A stranger with a gun fires on 2 teens, shattering lives. But that's only the beginning of this story. Listen to The Letter at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a little bit of heavy and slow traffic on northbound I-15 going from Murray through South Salt Lake, and the final clearing of this crash in Weber County. Northbound I-15 at 12th Street in Ogden. It is over to the right. UDOT traffic alert. Plan ahead for nighttime traffic delays and lane closures on Mountain View Corridor. Crews are repaving the highway between 134th South and Old Bingham Highway through August. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Thunderstorms could pop up this afternoon here on the Wasatch Front, but it'll dry out and warm up going into next week. Today's high 92, tomorrow 93, and right now it's 90 degrees, partly cloudy at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, your all-day companion for news.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
President Biden has requested an additional $20.6 billion in funding for Ukraine as the country continues to struggle to mount a successful counteroffensive against Russia. Some have called on Congress to push back against spending more on aid to Ukraine, claiming that we're just spending too much and it's hurting taxpayers. That's the headline. But if you step back just a little bit, is it really draining our national wallet? How does it really stack up against everything else we're spending? Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
Very pleased to have joining us on the program today. Dominic Pino is the Thomas L. Rhodes Fellow at National Review Institute and a great piece in National Review. And this is what we always talk about, this Think Again moment. The headline grabbers, of course, are the U.S. has spent nearly $900 per household on the Ukraine war. That got me thinking just a little bit in terms of, wow, that's a lot in my household. And I think a lot of people across the country have felt that. But Dominic, you took this to the Think Again moment and help us break down and put this into proper perspective.
Yeah, that's right, Boyd. Thanks for having me on. $900 per household is certainly a lot of money when you're talking in the context of a household's finances. But if we look at it and we compare $900 per household and we do the same sort of calculation on other things the government spends on, we can kind of see that puts it in a different perspective. So, for example, the federal government spent about $5 trillion in total on COVID relief. Now, this is, of course, a huge domestic problem, and this cost about $39,100 per household compared to $900. So the narrative that, the government is prioritizing Ukraine over domestic concerns doesn't quite add up. Yeah. You can look at it another way, too, and think about the national debt. We have $32.7 trillion national debt right now. National debt per household is about $256,000. So that $900 for Ukraine is only 0.35% of that. So again, the perspective changes a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the important thing. And folks, this is why we always have to get past the headline. You have to get past the tweet or the social media post, because it's designed to shock you, to make you frustrated, to make you angry, to make you react to those negative base emotions. Now, you can still have a debate over the policy. That's fine. But let's do it in a rational, reasonable kind of way. And in fact, this is one of the things that I love that you did in your piece, Dominic, is that you not only looked at it in terms of the domestic components, and I just want to remind everyone, just on the national debt, $256,000 per household. If you looked at the CARES Act, $15,600 per household, or the COVID relief, over $39,000 per household. So you got to put that in perspective. One of the other things you did, Dominic, is took it into the Defense Department itself. Give us some perspective there.
Yes. So the defense budget for 2023 is about $800 billion. That's for 1 year. Of course, the spending on Ukraine has been over about a year and a half. So we take the $113 billion from Ukraine, divide it by 1.5 to get $75 billion per year. So we're looking at $75 billion compared to $800 billion. So that means for the equivalent of less than 10% of the annual United States defense budget, we can fund a country that is willing and able to effectively fight against one of America's top adversaries, degrade that adversary's military capabilities, all while putting 0 American lives at risk. Now, again, as you said, I think reasonable people can disagree about whether support for Ukraine is a good idea in a strategic sense or in a moral sense or other things like that. But as a purely fiscal question, this seems like a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and let's dig into the politics of all of that. And I love the way you frame this in your piece, Dominic, that if it's just pure politics, if you're just trying to say, oh, hey, this is economics, this is fiscal, this is hurting your family and your kitchen table, it just doesn't quite add up in terms of what the debate really should be about.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the idea that if we weren't spending this $900 per household on Ukraine, then it would just go back to people's households. That's not how government works either. We didn't raise taxes in order to pay for this. This is being spent. The government is spending this based on the revenue it already has. If it wasn't spending it on Ukraine, it would be spending it on something else. So I think we need to think about it in that sense and be thinking about what other thing would the government be wasting this money on if it wasn't using it, again, as I said, to degrade the military capabilities of one of America's top adversaries.
Yeah, and give us some broader context there in terms of, obviously this hasn't been the only time that there's been a debate fiscally over what we do in foreign countries or with our allies around the world, but give us kind of that broader perspective. What are we doing there, and why should we look at that as, again, not this big catastrophic fiscal problem? We have a lot of other fiscal problems that need a whole lot more attention.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's just so much. There's always a lot to be made by politicians and by commentators who want to talk about spending problems, and they bring up foreign aid because it feels bad to have money going to other countries, and also it's a lot easier from a politician's point of view to cut spending for people who don't vote in American elections, and so foreign aid gets played up, but the fact of the matter is we could end all of our foreign aid tomorrow, even the foreign aid we give to very friendly countries that everyone agrees on. We could end all of that tomorrow, and it wouldn't change a single thing about the trajectory of the national debt. The national debt is being driven right now by 3 things: healthcare programs, Social Security, and interest payments. Everything else the government spends money on, that includes defense, all the other welfare programs outside of those 2, education, national parks, everything else the government spends money on is basically flat over the next 30 years. And so if we want to tackle the debt problem, we have to tackle those 3 things: interest payments, healthcare programs, and Social Security.
Yeah, it seems to me this is one of those shiny objects that you kind of distract everybody with, and like, oh, here's the problem, and you have a bunch of arguments and debates and fights, and both political parties raise all kinds of money off it as a way to get their campaign coffers filled up, because you don't want the evil, awful, horrible other side to do or not do what we're doing as it relates to Ukraine or other foreign countries that we invest in and put money towards. And so as we wind this down, Dominic, give us I love the way you finished your piece in terms of what is actually happening. This is what should actually shock everybody today. So I want you to listen really closely as Dominic takes us through what's actually being spent today.
Yes, this was terrifying, and I had never really done this math before, and so it was interesting to me as I was writing the piece as well. So based on this year's projected outlays, according to the Congressional Budget Office, so this is all official, congressional data. We're going to have projected outlays this year of $5.3 trillion. So that's how much money the federal government is supposed to spend this year, $5.3 trillion. That comes out to $14.5 billion per day, $605 million per hour, $10 million per minute, and $168,000 per second.
Wow. So in this segment of radio, this is a $90 million segment of radio as the government continues to spend your money, I think is the important thing we emphasize there. What's the one thing that you wish people were thinking about, both as it relates to what we're doing in Ukraine, but just spending in general? What's the thing we're not talking about on this issue that could really get us on the right path?
I think it's just the realization that the entitlement programs that are very popular right now are not going to be around if we don't reform them sooner rather than later. And so, people rightly expect to get the benefits that they've been taxed for their whole lives. That makes sense. But the simple fact is, and again, this is just mathematics and it's actuarial tables, and there's really not a way around it, is that we're not going to have enough money come within the next 10 years or so in order to fund these programs fully. And so what's going to happen if we don't reform them? There's going to be automatic budget cuts to them. Their benefits are not going to be what we were promised. Either way, if we get nothing, or if we do nothing, or if we reform it now. So if we reform it now, we can hopefully get better outcomes than if we wait and do nothing, and then we get automatic cuts that will be much bigger and much more hurtful to people that depend on these benefits.
No question about it. It is the facts, and thanks for going to that. We always talk about the absolute predictability of consequences, and the absolute predictability of not dealing with this leads to a really bad consequence, especially for the poor and the most vulnerable among us. Dominic Pino, Thomas L. Rhodes Fellow at the National Review Institute. Dominic, great perspective. Really appreciate you breaking it all down for us today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Boyd. It was fun.
Great insight there from Dominic Pino. Just think that through, folks. Just today, the government is spending, of your money, $14.5 billion. That's $605 million per hour, $10 million per minute. In this one segment of radio, the government has spent $90 million. And so the aid to Ukraine, yes, we can debate the policy of it, but this is not a fiscal problem. This is much more of a strategy problem. And if we don't get the fiscal things taken care of right, the absolute predictability of consequences is going to kick in, and it doesn't help anybody. We'll be right back.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. Sometimes it's the news.
A wildfire is still burning 11 miles southeast of Beaver.
Other times, the traffic and weather.
Slowdowns in several spots on I-15.
There have been some impressive thunderstorms around the state.
And most of the time, it's both.
The first ever pill to treat severe postpartum depression just got FDA approval.
Delays continue in Parley's Canyon westbound I-80.
Get everything you need. News, traffic, and weather in one place. Mornings and afternoons on KSL News Radio. Your all-day companion for news.
Well, as you've been following me on my soda weight loss journey, 37 pounds lost in just 90 days. And so I never have to answer the question, does soda weight loss really work? I don't have to answer that. Nobody's ever asked because the results don't lie. 37 pounds down in 90 days. I'm over 20 months into maintenance, and I'm still right there, 37 pounds down. Soda weight loss, SOTA, stands for state-of-the-art weight loss because it is state-of-the-art. You have a weekly session with your coach and nutritionist. You really take a holistic approach, all points of the compass in terms of tackling the mental, emotional, all the habits and behaviors you have around what you eat, and you change everything. You get the right nutrients, the right things that your body needs to burn, so you've got energy, you feel great. I'm not the only one. Thousands of people across the country are doing the same. You've heard me say it before. When it comes to your soda weight loss journey, there's no time to lose. There's only time to win because you don't have to ask if it works. It's how, and how matters. Check it out at sodaweightloss.com.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. But right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
Tim and Amanda back live in Spanish Fork. We are here to help the Jorgensen family celebrate the grand opening of a brand new Bedrock Quartz store, and Alan's here with us.
Alan, it's so good to meet you and your family and to come into this beautiful showroom here at Bedrock Quartz and learn about what is the difference between quartz and marble and granite. You have so many different beautiful colors to choose from.
Yes, thank you. It's wonderful to celebrate this grand opening, and there's just wonderful color options available, so people can find anything to fit their tastes. So our tastes are varied, and there's just many wonderful options.
And if you don't have an artistic flair, which I don't, you have experts that can help decide what matches and what doesn't. Here's the other thing. You've got a great giveaway today where somebody's going to win $5,000 worth of this stuff.
That's right. We're very excited to have, we're going to give away $5,000 in Bedrock products and services for one lucky homeowner to come in. Just excited to celebrate this and get some beautiful product in someone's home here.
I want people to know that this is not something you can't afford. I think so many people think there's no way I can redo my bathroom and it costs too much money. Come in and find out, because it is affordable.
That's right. When they come in here, they don't have to buy the full slab. We stock so many of these colors, and so it's just paying for the material that's being used for your project. And very many of our projects are between, say, $4,000 and $6,000 is a very common range for a full kitchen. Bathrooms, of course, much less than that.
Yeah, you got to see it to believe it, and now you don't have to go far. It's here in Spanish Fork at 49th East, 1000 North. We are right next to Siegel Book.
Getting close to retirement? Or have you retired? You've probably got a ton of stress-filled questions on your mind. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth. Getting a second opinion with an individualized investment plan is vital, and our fiduciary advisors do just that. Take it from this Trajan Wealth client.
It was just so pleasant, so comfortable. I think we had 7 different accounts, just stuff scattered all over the place. And then so we just started, here's this, move this. And he even explained it a couple different times. But if I have more questions, he said, just give us a call. And that's what I love. He's a phone call away. I'm glad I know these guys. Such a huge weight off my shoulder.
Imagine not second-guessing investments or monthly retirement income. That's the peace of mind you'll get from working with Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600 today or visit TrajanWealth.com.
Actual client, no compensation, no conflicts. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
I'm Dan Bomas on KSL News Radio with breaking news now. A federal court has dismissed a case brought by opponents of the Bears Ears and Grand Staircase National Monuments. Garfield County, Kane County, the state of Utah, and a recreation group called the Blue Ribbon Coalition had sued President Biden over his decision to restore the monuments to the original boundaries created by President Clinton and President Obama. Federal Judge David Nuffer ruled the plaintiffs did not have standing to challenge that designation, and he wrote in a 28-page decision that President Biden's judgment in drafting and issuing the proclamations in the case are not an action a federal court is allowed to review. We'll have more on this decision coming up in Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News here on KSL News Radio.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel you attract people who tend to be compulsive or abusive?
Do you have money problems because of someone else's drinking?
Are you afraid or embarrassed to bring your friends home?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
More than half of all adults have a family history of alcoholism.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Social Security is with you through life's journey from birth to retirement. As your life changes year to year, so do your needs. For over 80 years, Social Security has helped to meet your needs and is committed to improving access to the services that make a difference in your life. Today, you can verify your earnings, estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, manage your benefits, and even change your address, all from the comfort of your home. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Mom and Dad used to argue about everything, especially about Dad's drinking. It drove me crazy. It got so bad, I couldn't do my homework. I couldn't concentrate. I absolutely refused to let any of my friends come to our house for any reason. I would have been humiliated if anyone found out how much my dad drank and how loud my mom screamed at him. My family went from totally crazy to quiet, calm, and even peaceful. The only thing that happened is my mom started going to Al-Anon family groups. Her relationship with my dad really changed. I asked Mom if she would take me to her Al-Anon meetings or to Alateen. I wanted to see if I could have a better relationship with my dad. I'm sure glad I did. If someone's drinking troubling you, you might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-Anon or Alateen family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-ALANON or go to alanon.org.
Boyd Matheson divides rage from reason on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today, as always. I am Boyd Matheson, and if you're just joining us, we just wrapped up a really incredible conversation. We always talk about think again moments on this show, and this was a big one for me. A lot of the chatter this week, of course, as it relates to Ukraine, has been about President Biden's request for an additional $20.6 billion in funding. Now, that's a lot of money. $20 billion is no small thing. But the thing that's been fascinating to me and why we always have to pay attention beyond the headlines, because the headlines are all saying we're spending too much on Ukraine. We're taking money away from the American people. And again, that's nice chatter. And you can debate that left and right, but you got to really put it in perspective, which requires us to think again. And I loved what Dominic Pino talked about in our last segment. If you didn't hear that, that'll be up on the podcast a little later on this afternoon at kslnewsradio.com. You can find that in the podcast section. He talked about it in this way. He said, okay, so let's take that spending, which is about $900 per household. And again, a lot of people are freaking out. $900 per household on the war in Ukraine, that's ridiculous. You can debate the merits. You can debate the objective. You can do all of that. And we will, and we do. But you got to put it in perspective as well. So, for example, the CARES Act that was passed in response to the COVID pandemic cost $2 trillion. $2 trillion, which is about $15,600 per household. You had other COVID relief spending that was over $5 trillion, which is $39,000 per household. But here's the real kicker. If you really want to think again about spending $900 per household on the war in Ukraine, let's talk about our national debt for just a second, because we can only talk about it for a second because it's really expensive. We have $32.7 trillion in debt in this country. So if you broke that up between the households in the country, that's $256,000 per household. Now, you compare that to $900 a pop for Ukraine spending, pretty small number. Even if you just look at it as a percentage of our defense budget, still pretty small potatoes. And so, as Dominic pointed out to us, reasonable people can disagree about whether support for Ukraine is good or bad in terms of the geostrategic purposes. You can have that debate. That's important. But you can't just make it a fiscal case. Not with the way Congress has been spending. Equal opportunity offender. Both sides are out of control when it comes to spending, especially when they're in power. They always want to be more responsible when they're out of power. But when they're in power, everything's a good spend. And so just spend more. And so to me, the more important conversation that we have to get to is if we're going to talk about Ukraine, let's talk about it in terms of the strategy, the positioning, what it's doing for national security, what it means to the rest of the world, to our allies around the world, especially in Europe. And you can go on down that list, and you can have a reasonable, rational debate. But what you cannot debate is spending $900 per household in the U.S. is big compared to everything else we're spending. And I'm just going to remind you as we round out this segment of the program that the federal government will spend $14.5 billion today of your tax money. They will spend $605 million every hour of this day. They will spend $10 million every single minute of this day, and $168,000 every single second. I just spent about $500,000 right there in 3.5 seconds. So the Ukraine spending is not the problem. We have other spending problem we got to get to. We'll step aside for bottom of the hour news. We'll be right back. More Inside Sources coming up next on KSL News Radio.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. We have breaking news. The Salt Lake County District Attorney's Office announcing that the 2020 shooting of a 13-year-old boy with autism was unjustified. KSL News Radio's Hugo Rickard-Bell has details, and Hugo joins me live.
Dan, District Attorney Sim Gill told press today that despite finding the shooting of 13-year-old Lyndon Cameron unjustified, there will be no charges filed against Officer Matthew Feralis. The shooting occurred on September 4th, 2020, when Lyndon's mother called police requesting a CIT officer. That's an officer specialising in mental health crises, to help her with her son who was experiencing an emotional episode. Less than 2 minutes after officers arrived on the scene, Lyndon lay wounded on a footpath nearby his home. He survived the incident, and last year his family settled a lawsuit with the city for $3 million. Reporting live, Hugo Rickard-Bell, KSL News Radio.
We have additional breaking news. A federal court has dismissed the case brought by opponents of the Bears Ears and Grand Staircase National Monuments. Garfield County, Kane County, the state of Utah, and a recreation group called the Blue Ribbon Coalition sued President Biden over his decision to restore the monuments to the original boundaries created by President Clinton and President Obama. Federal Judge David Nuffer ruled the plaintiffs did not have standing to challenge the designation. He wrote in a 28-page decision that President Biden's judgment in drafting and issuing the proclamations in the case are not an action a federal court is allowed to review. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland announced that he's granted special counsel status to Delaware's U.S. Attorney David Weiss in the ongoing investigation into President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden.
I'm here today to announce the appointment of David Weiss as a special counsel. consistent with the Department of Justice regulations governing such matters.
Hunter Biden had been charged with a number of tax violations as well as a gun offense, but a plea bargain in that case was rejected by a federal judge. Your money at this moment, at the close of trading, the Dow Jones Industrials were up 105 points today. The NASDAQ, though, was down through the day and closed down 93 points. The S&P 500 closing down about 5. And we could see a thunderstorm this afternoon. We'll have KSL weather next. KSL News Time, 2:32.
What do you need to hear in the morning to feel ready for the day?
Important news that happened overnight, the traffic you'll hit on the roads.
You'll be ready for your day with us.
Join Utah's Morning News 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Tim and Amanda from Utah's Morning News back in the afternoon with you. Happy to be at Bedrock Quartz, one of the many locations of Bedrock Quartz in Spanish Fork.
We're here with Scott Nichols, who's the Director of Sales with Bedrock Quartz. Tell us about your other locations, too.
So we've got the whole state covered. We start up in Layton, West Jordan, Pleasant Grove. We've got a brand new store in Murray that opened this morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then we've got the Spanish Fork store where we're all located right now that has our grand opening today. And then our St. George is our southernmost location.
Oh, wow.
Well, listeners should be able to hear what's going on in the background. It's been busy here today. Is it true that you guys install 30 kitchens every day?
Yeah, at least 30 to 35 kitchens each and every day.
That's crazy.
I want people to know this is not as much of a hassle as you think.
No.
You come in, a person, you walked me through it. We pretended
Yes,
like,
we
okay,
did.
if I was buying a new bathroom today, and you walked me through the choices, and it was bada bing, bada boom.
It really can be so easy. We're trying to be your one-stop shop for your countertop, your sink, your faucets, your tile work. All of those things we can handle in one schedule and make it effortless for you.
Come celebrate the opening here in Spanish Fork. It's a great location, 49th East, 1000 North. You'll find us right next to Seagull Book.
Prices are slashed
This means hot deals at Dave's Bernina.
at their St. George and Provo locations.
I mean, offers so good we can't tell you the prices, and they won't last long.
Up to 48 months, no interest on certain models.
Come in now for this 3-day event. See the world premiere of the all-new Bernina 790 Pro machine with features you've never seen before, such as a computerized quilting option. Order one now and get a free accessory package worth over $2,400.
Purchase a new Bernina L890
Or LH60,
and receive all these free gifts.
such as a thread collection and sewing accessories.
Serger suitcase and the Big Book of Serging. Amazing bargains on previously owned machines while they last that come with warranties.
Starting at $399. So many other hot deals and offers. Come in and take advantage of this sale.
Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's High Yield Savings Certificates. Here's Ricky Meese.
Some slowdowns northbound I-15 in Weber County due to an accident at 12th Street in Ogden. It is over to the right shoulder, but we do have some extra backups in the area. And then in South Salt Lake, a crash with possible injuries and extrication called to State Street and 3500 South. CY 5 Alls is a 50-year Utah tradition. Exceptional food, atmosphere, and service. Don't settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary. 5 Alls, one restaurant satisfying all people and all of your senses. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And our KSL weather, thunderstorms possibly popping up this afternoon on the Wasatch Front. It'll dry out and warm up going into next week with today's high around 92, tomorrow 93. Right now, we're looking at 90 degrees under partly cloudy skies at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, as we look at society, in order to talk about principles, it's been an interesting trend that people across the country have stopped going to church, and especially younger Americans. We've noted the demographics and the impact of all of that. The interesting thing to me, though, is that young people actually want to be part of something. And so the question then becomes, is it time for a renewal of Christianity in America? What does that look like? What does that mean for our societies and for our communities? Well, Russell Moore is the editor-in-chief of Christianity Today. He's a theologian and a minister. He actually has a new book out called Losing Our Religion. And he joined us on the show earlier this week to discuss it. And I asked Russell Moore to just give us the baseline origin story of where this book began.
Well, it really came out of the fact that I found myself having an entirely different conversation than the one I was having at the beginning of my ministry when it came to people who were on the edge of losing their faith. Initially, that was because people would say, I'm not sure I can believe everything that the church teaches, or I'm not sure that I can live up to the church's morality. And there came a point where people started questioning not whether they could believe what the church believes, but whether the church itself believes what the church believes. And that was, you see that crisis in almost every institution in American life, but I think the stakes are really high with the church.
Yeah, no question. The stakes are incredibly high. And I want to jump to one on that political front because you address this so powerfully in the book. And we often talk about it here in terms of the fact that what we've done is we've deified our politics and we've politicized our churches. And you talk about that in the context of losing our integrity and how morality can actually save us from hypocrisy. Go down that path for us.
Well, we're in a time right now where what we want to do is to choose our personalities and tribes first, and then fill in what our moral principles are on the basis of that, rather than the other way around. And that's a really, really perilous pull in American life, and it's one that we all experience from middle school on, in which it's who's my group and what am I going to do to stay in their good graces. But it's especially intense right now in American life.
Yeah, no question. And so I want to get to this question. You get to this in the book as well, and that is, how should Christians think about participation in political life? What should that conversation look like?
Well, I think we should be engaged in the civic arena because we have responsibilities as citizens, but we can't put those things first. We have to have a certain distance from those things and see ourselves as first, as in my view, as people who are citizens of the kingdom of God. But even for people who aren't religious, the idea of seeing their entire identity bound up with politics just isn't intended to bear that weight. And when we try to put that weight on it, we end up exhausted, burned out, and we end up starting to see our fellow citizens as enemies to be defeated rather than as people to be persuaded of whatever our viewpoint might be.
Yeah, that identity, putting that proper identity first, last, and always, I think always changes the conversations. Something else that you get to along that same line, I'd love to have you unpack it just a little bit for us, and that is, how do our conversations actually save us from really the vitriolic culture war, battle us, them kind of things we see in the world today?
Well, I think when people actually have conversations with each other, they start to see that there are some fundamental principles of humanity that are there. I believe they're there because we're created in the image of God. But we start to recognize and to see one another as more than just categories, and red and blue or whatever the categories might be. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really concerned about the fact that you have families who don't speak to each other over politics. You have churches divided over politics. You have all of these things. We're sorting ourselves out where we actually aren't speaking to one another at all. We're just yelling for the sake of whatever our tribe is, so that they can say, "Yeah, you're one of us."
Yeah. Let's get to the young people of the country. You talk about this a lot, not just in your book, but you've been talking about this for a long time in terms of that opportunity. We had Jake Meter on from Mere Orthodoxy, who had really looked at this whole idea of who's leaving the church, but who's willing to come back. And often it's these young people who actually are willing to come back. But again, it's got to be the right connective tissue and the right conversation.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I told a group of people last night not to panic when they have young people in their lives who say, "I think I might be losing my faith." I mean, in many cases, those are spiritual crises that people are going through, and afterward, they're going to be even stronger in their faith. But that requires churches that are willing to have those intergenerational sorts of relationships. I mean, I think young people are asking about any religious institution: is this just a means to an end, or is this real?
Yeah.
And that's the most important question to be answered.
Oh, I love that question. That is the question, to be sure. So I have to tell you, the last chapter in the book caught me by surprise, delightfully. And that is, you talk about this fact that we're losing stability. So I want you to describe what you mean by that, and then I want to unpack it just a little bit more.
Well, I tend to have a tendency toward nostalgia, to look backward and to say everything was really so much better back at whatever point
in
my life. Back in the day, whatever day that was. But that's really not a biblical view as a Christian. It's also not a healthy view as a human being. I think we long to have things that are stable and stay the same, and we're disoriented when they're not. But actually, every time that something creative and world changing happens, it happens with this feeling of instability and sometimes even anxiety and fear. And I think that's the best hope for renewal, is that we stop trying to maintain a kind of stability that's really rooted in nostalgia more than it is in anything else.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. I had a fascinating conversation with George Will from the Washington Post a few weeks ago, and we often talk about, what are we conserving? And often it's that backward facing. And he actually used the example of baseball, saying that, hey, the best way to preserve was actually to change and to implement some new rules that actually took us back to what we fell in love with to begin with. And so he said it was much more of a restoration, and that's what actually leads to revival. And so give us kind of a perspective in terms of how do we apply that, in terms of how do we move things forward and actually create that connective tissue and community?
Well, I think the main thing is not to lose heart. And so when we're going through these disruptive times, the tendency is to move to cynicism. And cynicism can show up either with people who say, I'm just giving up, I'm not participating anymore. But it also could show up in people who cynically say, okay, well, this is the way the game is played. I'm going to play it. And we're going to keep doing the destructive things that we've seen in the past. And really, I think what renewal means is reconnecting with the best of the past and carrying that on to a new generation. George Will's right to see that in baseball. I see it in country music, and I think in virtually every art form, there's always people who say, let's get back to what it was that really defines us. But that's not going to look exactly like it looked before.
Yeah, very important. Before I let you go, give us one therefore what. We always try to get to the therefore what question. As you look at your book and all of your work, what's the therefore what? What do you hope people think different? What do you hope they do different as a result?
Well, many things, but one of those things is to maintain attention. I think it's really hard for us to keep attention, to keep groundedness when we're distracted by so many things going on around us. And I find if somebody can devote themselves to those spiritual disciplines, prayer, Bible reading, community, service, it reorients the mind in ways that are countercultural in the best way.
Oh, fantastic. Russell Moore, editor-in-chief of Christianity Today, author of a new book, Losing Our Religion, an Altar Call for Evangelical America. As always, we appreciate your perspective and how you get us all to think again about things that are worth thinking about. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Great perspective there from Russell Moore. Always appreciate his thinking. And whether you're in the evangelical community or any other faith community or no faith community, I think the things that Russell Moore is inviting people to come to and engage in, to simply see people, see them deeply, not as categories. Don't see them as someone or something to be defeated, but maybe something that could be persuaded if you had a different kind of conversation. And I loved how he ended. Russell Moore really called on everyone to pay attention over distraction. It's those pleasant distractions that often prevent us from having the right conversations. Great insight from Russell Moore. Always grateful to have him on the program. We're going to go ahead and step aside for one last break. When we come back, some final thoughts. We're going to look at what is happening in Maui and how you can do something today to make a difference for those that are struggling there on the Hawaiian Islands. We'll be right back.
Come celebrate 55 years of camping adventure with Motorsportsland during our 55-year anniversary celebration. Save thousands with better-than-show pricing on all motorhomes, travel trailers, fifth wheels, folding trailers, and toy haulers. Not good enough? We also have over 100 new RVs at used RV pricing while inventory lasts. To make it even better, we've arranged special anniversary financing rates exclusively at Motorsportsland. Come into any of our 3 locations in Mill Creek, Salt Lake, or Spanish Fork for huge savings on the best RV brands, financing, parts, and camping accessories. But that's not all. Check us out on social media for giveaways, flash deals, and more. Don't miss Motorsportsland's 55-year anniversary where savings are everywhere and adventure awaits. Hurry in today and let Motorsportsland help you get away.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
Motorsportsland.com.
Hello again, everybody. Tim and Amanda. We are live in Spanish Fork at the brand new Bedrock Quartz. You know, it's funny, your mind went right where mine did because we're staring at all these beautiful quartz panels.
Yeah.
There's more than just a white out there, isn't there?
Oh, my gosh. So we're here with Scott Nichols. Scott, I've never seen that many shades of white in my life. And that's just, and then there are all these beiges and creams and blacks and grays and quartz and marble and granite. And how do you decide?
Well, one of the really cool things about quartz is that you can get these bright whites that so many of our clients want that don't really naturally occur in marble and stone, naturally occurring stone. So you can have that look that you want in a high-performance technical countertop like the quartz that we carry here at Bedrock. Yeah.
I'll tell you why that's important, because right behind us is all of your tile and your backsplash. And if you go with that countertop, you can do any of these things in the backdrop and make a huge difference in the way things look.
For sure, yeah. You can really set off any countertop apart with some of the radical colors that we've got in the tile world.
You know, there's no need to hate your bathroom or hate your kitchen. Come here and fix it.
Just give us a call. We'll have it done in 7 days for you. Right?
And they can also qualify for a great prize today.
Oh, yeah. We're giving away a $5,000 countertop in Bedrock products and services. So come on down and sign up for the $5,000 chance to win.
Come here and see us. We're at 49 East, 10th North in Spanish Fork. We're right next to the Sequel Bookstore.
When words come out of our mouths and everything sounds fine, no one bats an eye. But if things come out a little jumbled or letters sound different than most, there's speech therapy. But did you know that speech therapy is used for more than just stuttering or disfluency? From articulation to expressive and receptive language to a simple act of swallowing that most of us take for granted, speech therapy can do amazing things for you, your health, and of course your sense of self. That's why Summit Speech Therapy is here. Summit Speech Therapy works with people of all ages, from infants and toddlers who have a difficult time feeding or eating, TBI, stroke, or coma patients, to children and adults with speech problems. So much of it is all related, and Summit Speech Therapy can help. Summit works with all insurance companies as well as private pay options, and the experience can be life-changing. With clinics up and down the Wasatch Front, including Murray, with no long waiting for an appointment. For more, visit summitslp.com. That's summitslp.com.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same. But at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high-commission investment products, right?
No. Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No. We have one transparent management fee, structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the Salt Lake County District Attorney has ruled that the police shooting of a 13-year-old boy with autism 3 years ago was not justified. Second, a court case challenging President Biden's decision to restore the original boundaries of the Grand Staircase and Bears Ears National Monuments has been dismissed by a federal judge in Utah. And third, the U.S. Attorney investigating Hunter Biden's business and tax dealings has been named a special counsel, which gives him broader jurisdiction. Right now, 90 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Get deeper insights on the news from Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It is great to be with you today, as always. I am Boyd Matheson. As we round out the program today, you know we always end this program by extending the invitation to do something to make a difference. And today is one of those days where everybody can do something to make a difference. It's been heartbreaking to watch the news coming out of Maui as the wildfire has just devastated the island. And we have an opportunity to actually make a difference. Bonneville, that owns the station and other stations here in the West, has launched a fundraiser to raise money for the people on Maui. Last night, our foundation kicked off the fundraiser with a $15,000 donation to Bonneville Maui Strong Fire Relief Fund. 100% of the money goes to those that are suffering on Maui, and you can find that link on kslnewsradio.com. It just says Maui Strong, and you can make a contribution right there. But I want to get into the story behind it because that's where you really see what is going on. And yesterday I just saw an incredible, real powerful story aired on KSL TV. And it begins with Deanie Wimmer, of course, in the anchor chair. And she tosses to reporter Mike Anderson, who spoke to someone from Utah who has strong ties to the fire-stricken space of Lahaina. Take a listen.
Destruction from the fire in Lahaina is hitting some people here in Utah especially hard who still have family and friends there. News specialist Mike Anderson actually just returned from the area and talked with a Provo man who is watching the efforts there very closely.
Hey, you know, I was just in Lahaina Tuesday as a tourist coming home on Wednesday. It was a very new and beautiful place for me, but a huge piece of personal life and history for Boyd Mossman. When the images on the national news are of a place where you spent most of your life.
Wow. It is so unexpected.
Boyd Mossman worked in downtown Lahaina, spending several years as a district judge. He says the old courthouse he worked in was just next to the famous 150-year-old banyan tree. I just happened to shoot this video of the tree Tuesday, which was later damaged in the fire and now may not survive. And the old courthouse, Mossman says, appears to be gone.
What I can't believe is all my family and friends on that island. Now, I have family in upcountry Maui. I have many, many friends in Lahaina.
Mike Anderson from KSL TV continued his interview with Boyd Mossman, again, who lives down in Utah County, talking about his ties to the island, to the area of Lahaina, and what Mr. Mossman is trying to do to show support for those on the island.
Mossman says he's heard from several of those friends who have lost their homes, as he hears of others in the area who are still looking for loved ones.
Lahaina is more than beautiful, it's historic. Most of the homes, from what I can make out online, most of the homes were in the center of town. Those homes are really, really, really old, like over 100 years old.
He says the town has recovered from fires before, but never anything like this.
I'm wearing this red shirt because it represents Lahaina Luna. That's a high school there. Very, very strong support in the community for Lahaina Luna.
He says the people here will need lasting support. It'll take years to rebuild.
And for those who survived, we call it Holomua. We move forward. Holomua Kako, together. We move forward together.
And Mossman is in touch with local leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Maui. He's also the president of a Hawaiian Civic Club here in Utah, and he says they are working together to try and get aid to the people of Maui. Mike Anderson, KSL 5 News.
Big thanks to Mike Anderson from KSL 5 TV for that report. And, it's always one thing to see the images on the screen, especially on the national news. It's another to feel those personal connections that you have to this kind of tragedy and natural disaster. And so this is one of those opportunities where we really can do something to make a difference. And I know there are so many in this state, so many of you listening today that have direct connections to the islands through family, through visits, trips that you've been there. And so we want to make sure that we're doing something today, not just enough to give a nice thought. This is a chance to actually do something. As I mentioned before, you can go to kslnewsradio.com, and just right at the top left, you'll see a button that says Maui Strong. Maui Strong, just click on that link and you'll have an opportunity to make a donation there. 100% of the money goes to the Hawaii Community Foundation, a nonprofit directly serving the people there in Maui. So a great opportunity to get out there and make a difference today. That's what it's always all about, is how do we make a difference? And today we have a chance to do that. And big thanks to our leadership here at KSL and Bonneville for stepping up and making an initial donation of $15,000 to Bonneville Maui Strong Fire Relief Fund. And you can join that effort as well today. Just go to kslnewsradio.com. Top left corner, you'll see the button for Maui Strong. Click on that and be part of the solution today. Do something today that actually makes a difference. Well, that's going to round out our show today. And, of course, as always, you want to go back and check out